This scene between Sincerre and Skin unfolds with a tension that is less about overt action and more about the quiet, often unsettling negotiation of power, belonging, and emotional dependence, presenting a layered portrait of how connection can become entangled with control when vulnerability meets authority. From the very beginning, the encounter is framed through the language of caution and opportunity, with Sincerre's initial warning that it's dangerous out here functioning both as a literal observation about the physical environment and as a subtle assertion of her own role as a figure of guidance and protection. This dual positioning, caretaker and gatekeeper, immediately establishes a dynamic in which safety is offered, but not without implicit conditions. Skin's entrance into the vehicle, like many moments of transition in the film, represents not just a change in physical location, but a shift into a space where her autonomy becomes increasingly negotiated rather than assumed. The offer of work at the ranch appears, on the surface, to be a practical solution to a pressing need, framed in terms of mutual benefit, labor in exchange for shelter, food, and a modest wage. Yet even in this exchange, there is a subtle imbalance, as the terms are defined entirely by Sincerre, leaving Skin in the position of accepting rather than shaping the arrangement. This reflects a broader reality familiar to many women, particularly those in precarious situations, where opportunities for stability often come with unspoken expectations and an undercurrent of obligation. From a queer perspective, this dynamic resonates with the ways in which relationships within marginalized communities can sometimes blur the lines between support and dependency, especially when one individual holds significantly more power or resources than the other. As the scene transitions to the ranch, the tone shifts from tentative possibility to a more rigid structure of expectation and discipline, with Sincerre's critique of Skin's work pace introducing an element of scrutiny that feels both personal and performative. The emphasis on Skin being young and strong underscores the way her value is being assessed in terms of utility, reducing her to a set of qualities that can be measured and judged. This moment speaks to a broader cultural pattern in which women are often evaluated based on their ability to meet external standards, whether in labor, appearance, or emotional availability, rather than being recognized as complex individuals with their own needs and boundaries. Skin's response, marked by apology and promise to improve, reveals the internalization of these expectations, as she quickly moves to align herself with Sincerre's demands in order to maintain her place within this fragile arrangement. This pattern of self-correction and deference is deeply familiar to many women, who are socialized to prioritize harmony and approval, often at the expense of their own comfort or self-expression. The subsequent interaction inside the house further deepens this dynamic, as Sincerre begins to frame their relationship in more personal terms, suggesting that they are building something special. This language of exclusivity and significance is particularly important, as it introduces an emotional dimension to what was previously framed as a transactional relationship. For Skin, who is implied to have come from a difficult or unstable background, the idea of being chosen or valued in this way carries a powerful appeal, offering a sense of belonging that may have been absent elsewhere. However, this appeal is complicated by the way it is presented, intertwined with expectations of gratitude and compliance. Sincerre's questioning, whether Skin is truly happy, whether she would want to return to her previous circumstances, serves to reinforce the idea that her current situation is not just preferable but necessary, subtly limiting the scope of her perceived choices. This is a crucial point of analysis, as it highlights how narratives of rescue and salvation can sometimes function to obscure underlying imbalances of power, particularly in relationships where one person's stability is contingent on another's approval. Within a queer framework, this dynamic can be especially resonant, as chosen family and mentorship often play vital roles in providing support and affirmation, yet also require careful navigation to ensure that they do not replicate the very hierarchies and constraints they seek to escape. The scene's emotional core lies in this tension between care and control, between the desire to be seen and the fear of losing oneself in the process. Skin's repeated affirmations of gratitude and her insistence that she does not want to return to her past reflect a genuine longing for safety and acceptance. Yet they also reveal the extent to which her sense of self is being shaped by her need to maintain this connection. Sincerre, on the other hand, embodies a form of authority that is both reassuring and intimidating, offering stability while simultaneously demanding a level of emotional alignment that leaves little room for dissent or ambiguity. This interplay mirrors real-life dynamics within many relationships, queer or otherwise, where the need for connection can lead individuals to accept conditions that they might otherwise question. It also speaks to the broader societal context in which women are often encouraged to seek validation through their relationships with others, rather than through an independent sense of self. The scene's restrained approach to depicting intimacy, focusing on dialogue, tone, and emotional subtext rather than explicit detail, allows for a more nuanced exploration of these themes, emphasizing the psychological and relational aspects of the interaction. This choice stands in contrast to the ways in which media frequently sensationalizes relationships between women, reducing them to spectacle or erasing their complexity altogether. By centering the characters' interior experiences, the film invites viewers to engage with the story on a deeper level, recognizing the subtle ways in which power, desire, and identity intersect. The relationship between Sincerre and Skin can thus be understood as a microcosm of larger cultural dynamics, reflecting both the possibilities and the challenges inherent in forming connections within a society that often fails to fully acknowledge or support women's emotional lives. For queer women in particular, the scene may resonate as an exploration of how intimacy can be both a source of empowerment and a site of vulnerability, requiring ongoing negotiation and self-awareness. The idea of a special relationship carries with it the promise of recognition and belonging, yet also raises questions about the terms on which that recognition is granted. Who defines what is special, and at what cost? How do individuals maintain their sense of self within relationships that are shaped by unequal power dynamics? These questions are not unique to the film, but reflect broader concerns within queer communities, where the search for connection often takes place within contexts that are themselves shaped by marginalization and constraint. At the same time, the scene's themes extend beyond queer experiences, touching on universal aspects of human connection, such as the desire to be valued, the fear of abandonment, and the challenge of balancing independence with interdependence. Women of all orientations may recognize themselves in Skin's efforts to meet expectations, to be good enough, and in Sincerre's struggle to reconcile care with control. The narrative thus becomes a space for reflection on the ways in which relationships can both nurture and limit, offering comfort while also imposing boundaries. In this sense, the film contributes to a broader conversation about emotional truth and authenticity, challenging viewers to consider how they navigate their own connections, and the extent to which those connections allow for genuine self-expression. By presenting intimacy as something that is complex, layered, and sometimes fraught, the scene resists simplistic interpretations, instead offering a portrayal that is grounded in the realities of human experience. It acknowledges that love, care, and desire are not always straightforward, that they can coexist with uncertainty, imbalance, and the need for negotiation. This nuanced approach is particularly important in the context of lesbian and queer representation, where there has historically been a tendency to either idealize or pathologize relationships between women. Here, the focus remains on the characters as individuals, each with their own histories, motivations, and vulnerabilities, rather than as symbols or archetypes. Ultimately, the scene invites viewers to consider what it means to truly see and be seen, to form connections that are not only meaningful but also equitable and respectful. It suggests that the process of becoming visible to oneself and to others is ongoing, shaped by both internal reflection and external interaction. In doing so, it affirms the importance of approaching relationships with both openness and critical awareness, recognizing that true intimacy requires not just closeness, but also a commitment to mutual understanding and care.